Hello dear students, welcome back to our English session. Today we have grammar, relative clauses, defining and non-defining. This is to the Max Students book, pages 24 and 25. Now read the following sentences and decide whether these two sentences are the same or they are different. The first sentence says, the man who just called is from France. His name is Adam. The second sentence says, the man, who just called, is from France. His name is Adam. So what is the difference between these two sentences? And decide if they are the same. Definitely they are not the same, they are different. The first sentence says, the man who just called is from France. His name is Adam. The clause who just called here gives important information about the man. So the man is unknown and the speaker has to define him by adding some information or a sign to refer to that man. In this case, the speaker uses who just called to define the man. In the second example, the man who just called is from France. His name is Adam. The man is already known to both the speaker and the listener. So, the speaker uses who just called between two commas to give extra information, and this piece of extra information can be omitted because it's not necessary to define the man because he is already known. Now moving to two other sentences. The first one says, those apples that Dave bought from the shop were really delicious. The second sentence says, those apples, that Dave bought from the shop, were really delicious. So what is the difference? The first sentence, here we have that. That is a defining relative pronoun that gives important information. So we cannot omit that clause here in this sentence. The second sentence, that here is a non-defining relative pronoun that gives extra information. So we can omit this part and we can say those apples were really delicious as they are known apples. We already know them. So the question is, what are relative clauses? Relative clauses sometimes define the person or the thing being spoken about, and sometimes they are just for extra information. So we use relative clauses to define a person or a thing, or sometimes we just use them to give extra information. For example, the man who just called is from France. His name is John. This is a defining clause because it gives necessary information. We cannot omit it. Number 2, the man, who just called, is from France. His name is John. This is a non-defining clause. What are defining and non-defining relative clauses? A defining relative clause is a part of a sentence. It is necessary information. It describes the noun that comes just before it. Relative pronouns in defining clauses are who, which, that, whom, whose, where, and when. A non-defining relative clause gives additional, not essential information. It doesn't help to identify the thing or the person. It is put in commas, and the relative pronouns in non-defining clauses are who, which, whose, where, and when. Now let's see some relative pronouns. We have many of them. First one, who, which refers to people. For example, the man who told me the way was very polite. Number 2, which. We use which to refer to animals or things. For example, my new guitar, which I bought yesterday, is excellent. Number 3, whose. We use whose to express position. For example, the child whose picture was the best got an award. Number 4, whom. We use this as an object pronoun for people. For example, the man whom we met in the street was blah blah blah. Where, for places and locations. For example, the house where I live is very big. Next one, why, and we definitely use why for reasons. For example, that's the reason why I do blah blah blah. And the last one here is that, and we use that to refer to people, animals, or things in defining clauses. For example, he said something that I liked. Note: non-defining relative pronouns are frequently preceded by qualifiers like any, all, some, of. So we can say all, any of whatever, all of whatever, some of whatever. For example, David has written many books, all of which I have read. Number 2, the letter was addressed to Adam and Nancy, neither of whom is old enough to read. Now let's go to practice time. Exercise A, state whether the relative pronoun is defining or non-defining. We have 4 sentences. Let's read the first one together. The spoon that is next to the oven is Sarah's. So, that here is a relative pronoun. Is it a defining relative pronoun or a non-defining relative pronoun? The spoon that is next to the oven is Sarah's. So, definitely it is a defining relative pronoun. Very good, because it gives important information in the sentence, so we cannot omit it. Number 2, the baby that has just been born needs urgent attention. So again, we define the baby. So we say that has just been born. Otherwise, we'll not know which baby are we talking about. So it's a defining relative pronoun. Number 3, these are my children, all of whom I love. What do you think? Yes, this is a non-defining relative pronoun. Whom here is a non-defining relative pronoun. Number 4, my cat who is forever purring is so sweet. So this gives extra information about my cat. So this is a non-defining relative pronoun. Very good. Now moving to exercise B, change the following defining relative pronoun into a non-defining one. Here we have 4 sentences. Let's see the first one together. Number 1, the house in which I live is on a hill. Now here we have which is a defining relative pronoun. I want to change it into a non-defining relative pronoun. I want to change the function of which here. So what are we going to say? We are going to say the house, comma, where I live, comma, is on the hill. So what is the most important piece of information here? Is that the house is on the hill. Number 2, the teenager who was seen walking in the park with a thief is being questioned. So how do we change who relative pronoun, the defining relative pronoun here, into a non-defining relative pronoun? What do we do? Yes, we say the teenager, comma, who was seen walking in the park with a thief, comma, is being questioned. So we focus on that the teenager is being questioned. Number 3, she lives near the meadow where the children go and play. Again, we want to change the function of where, which is the defining relative pronoun, to become an undefining one. So what do we say? Yes, we say she lives near the meadow, comma, where the children go and play. Number 4, the food which we ate last night was so tasty. how do we change which from a defining relative pronoun into an undefining one? Yes, we do it like this. The food, comma, which we ate last night, comma, was so tasty. So the most important piece of information here is that the food was so tasty. Now for your homework, go to your A-level booklet, page 38, and answer exercise A and B. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson.